Greetings everybody, welcome to the April 13th, 2016 edition of the Midweek Update here on Rasslin with Redbeard. Raw since WrestleMania 32 has proved that logic and pro wrestling go together about like Donald Trump and politics. There are just some things that should be left separate at all times. Number 5 story of the week is that Global Force Wrestling appears to be involved in a pyramid scheme. This is a very crazy story, one of several we're going to talk about here this week, that involves Global Force Wrestling founder Jeff Jarrett and the fact that he was suddenly discovered to have been involved with a European company called Carrot Bars. Basically what this company does is it sells very small quantities of gold bullion to its customers, and then in some cases they encourage those customers to sort of funnel other individuals into the company by way of them. It's a traditional pyramid scheme. The crazy thing about it is that many people who are considered insiders and financial advisors and whatnot will tell you that this is a very poor strategy when it comes to actual investment. I don't know a whole lot about finances, period. I would never claim to, but in this particular ballpark, it looks as though what you've got is a very, very silly thing happening, because Jeff Jarrett, whether or not he's using this as a funding platform for Global Force Wrestling or not, has now gotten himself to a point where he's being dragged through this thing and people are laughing at him because of it. And it all came about because of some guys on Reddit who discovered globalforcegold.com and some other associated URLs that pointed back to these videos where Jarrett more or less goes about talking up this concept of Team Jarrett and how he wants you to join him in this investment strategy. You know, it goes right hand in hand with the classic carny analogy, and how a lot of the people that well, I shouldn't say a lot, but how several of the people that I've known over the years in independent wrestling have been involved with things like used car sales and whatnot. It's that same old carny mentality that says, okay, we're going to get whatever we can, however we can, and we don't care what people think. And that is exactly what this is. It's a pretty funny story overall, and it is what it is. You know, if you want to see the video, it's out there. But yeah, if you want some Global Force gold, go ahead and contact good old Double J. He'll be glad to get you some. Number 4 story of the week is that an independent talent has issued a cease and desist letter to TNA Wrestling. This is a story that came about as a result of some similarities, we'll go ahead and say, between the Crimson character that we're talking about, the independent personality anyway, not Crimson with a C, Crimson with a K. Yeah, that's a different thing there entirely. But this individual claims that his likeness, his character, mannerisms, whole 9 yards, are very akin to the Crazy Steve character that's on TNA Wrestling programming right now. It's part of the Decay stable, and also one half of the TNA World Tag Team Champions with Abyss right now. But be that as it may, the comparisons are many, I guess you could say, between these two. Crimson is a kind of a demented clown. Crazy Steve is a demented clown. The face paint they both wear is very similar. I haven't investigated a whole lot to be able to tell whether or not the Crimson mannerisms are there or whatnot, but he went on down the line and basically said, you know, everything that this character Crazy Steve is doing are things that I've done previously. It's a pretty noble stab in the dark, I'll go ahead and say, on his part, to try and get what he can here, but the whole thing really reeks of other attempts like this in the past for someone who's had a somewhat similar character pop up. You know, you can go back as far as the whole King Diamond and Kiss makeup thing. You know, it all kind of rolls downhill from there, but it likely won't go anywhere because the idea of a demented clown is not, you know, just popped up. And I think even the Crimson character would have to be really, 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 really smart in order to try and say, well, I'm not borrowing from something like Heath Ledger's Joker. So it is what it is, but here again you have a story that involves someone trying to get what they can from someone else in wrestling, not so much because they did something, but because someone else did something. Crazy. Not just Crazy Steve, but crazy. Number 3 story of the week is that TNA is being evicted from their Nashville offices. This is a story that just came about earlier this week, and it's something that really has turned a lot of people on their heads in terms of what the outlook for this company is in the future. because the story evolved from them moving out of their offices to them being evicted from the offices. What it amounts to is TNA is now being forced out of the Nashville offices that they've maintained for quite some time. They're moving into a warehouse that has been the home of ShopTNA.com and where they've kept all their wares as far as that's concerned. It's a building that apparently Dixie Carter owned previously when she was involved with PR and some various things regarding that type of business. But regardless, it really appears that things have gotten into a very dire situation with TNA as far as their financial outlook is concerned. There have been stories for a number of weeks here saying that if the right offer came around, that TNA would be interested in getting involved with an investor, possibly even selling the company outright. But there also are stories saying that Dixie Carter may not be willing to sell to an investor if one exists that wants a controlling stake in the company. She really should go and cut her ties at this point in time. I think that's what the overwhelming sentiment would be if you ask fans and also people in the industry. She's done what she can in order to run this company on the ground, and she's done it now for essentially a third or fourth time. The real problem here is that you've got guys who were signed to contracts in some cases, people who were more or less depending on this for a source of income, and there's guys from the Mid-Atlantic like Trevor Lee, for example. He's the X Division champion at this point in time, who are likely going to have something pulled out from underneath them if this doesn't get sorted out. But we'll have to see where it goes. But at this point in time, it does look as though this is might as well go and say one more stage of the end times for TNA Wrestling. Number 2 story of the week is our reaction to WWE NXT's debut here in South Carolina. Folks, I'll go ahead and say that we attended both shows that they had here in South Carolina, the Friday and Saturday shows. The Friday show was at the Township Auditorium in Columbia, South Carolina. After that show, I honestly was ready to write NXT off. I hate to say that, but I was so disappointed in that event. There were maybe 2 good matches on the card. The rest of them were just totally flat. There was nothing there at all. And it really came across as though that the company, or the brand, whatever you want to call them, was at a point in time where they were resetting and where the lack of talent was really, really, really just present and at the forefront of what seemed like this great thing. And then to see that show Friday, it was like, well, what happened? Where did everybody go? Now they went to Raw is what happened. You've had a lot of talent roll over here. A lot of guys who were involved in NXT are now part of the main roster. That's great. But the fact that NXT was at a reloading point has never been more on my mind than it was after that show Friday. I was, like I mentioned, very disappointed. Even with the debut in South Carolina of Shinsuke Nakamura and Asuka and other talents like that, there was nothing there other than 2 matches, and that was the main event. And also I'll go ahead and toot a little bit of a horn here, the match involving John Skyler and Ricky Moss. So going into the show Saturday, I was thinking, well, what's going to be here? What are we going to see? Is it going to be better than what we saw the night before? And the answer is it was 100% better, really and truly. Top to bottom, the show Saturday in Charleston at the North Charleston Convention Center was head and shoulders above just about anything I've seen here in a long while. Very entertaining show. It was a sold-out crowd. That might have had something to do with it because the Township Auditorium did not sell well for NXT. I'm going to say that right now. They had a pretty good turnout, but not a big house there by any shape or form. But by contrast, in Charleston, it was sold out. Big crowd, big house, and the talent was definitely showing off everything they could. One of the matches of the night, I'll go ahead and say, was Austin Aries and Manny Andrade. I think I'm going to butcher his name, but it's La Sombra. Used to be in CMLL. Phenomenal match. I've never understood the whole 5-star scoring system, whatever else, but if that was not a perfect match, I don't think I've ever seen one, because that one was just flawless. Great match there. I wish it had been recorded somewhere. Of course, this is a house show, so it doesn't get recorded. Well, it probably does actually, it just doesn't get produced anywhere or published anywhere. But the 2 of them had a fantastic match. The main event was also very, very good. It was a combination of Nakamura and Finn Balor taking on the tag team of Ty Dillinger and Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin, I think, is going to be a big star. He's gotten a lot better in the past 12 months. He had a spot during the show on Saturday to where he came out, in both events, he came out wearing a shirt to wrestle in, which, the idea of a guy on the WWE roster wrestling in a shirt is kind of funny. They always have independent talents who do that, but at any rate, he came out wearing the shirt. People started ragging on him, saying, "Take your shirt off, take your shirt off, take your shirt off." He takes his shirt off and he's got a shirt under the shirt. Brilliant. It got a big pop, big reaction, and it was just one of those moments where they have fun on the NXT roster and get a chance to really do something cool. But all things totaled, though, it was a fantastic weekend of events. Anytime you can get out and see wrestling like that and to see a fresh combination of talent, that's pretty cool. But the Saturday show really elevated my spirits and put me back in the mood of watching NXT and wanting to support that brand. So definitely, if you get an opportunity to go out and see NXT, do it. They are going to be continuing to tour. I believe they're going to be going up the Midwest here next. Some dates around maybe Ohio and whatnot. So definitely, if they're in your area, check them out and support NXT, because that's the hottest thing going right now. And on a much more somber note, we'll bring up the #1 story of the week, that being the passing of Blackjack Mulligan. Blackjack was a big impact on my wrestling viewing history. Guys like him and Stan Hansen and others who were the big men who could also be viewed as tremendous athletes were just really something that I took joy in seeing when I was a kid. It's really something to talk about, not only his stature as a performer in the history of wrestling, and for the people that he was associated with. He had involvement with people like Bruno Sammartino, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, pretty much all the major stars of the 70s and early 80s. He was involved with it some way, shape, or form. But to also think of the fact that a man like him has had such an impact on the future of wrestling, the lineage that he left from having, a son like Barry Windham and having a couple of grandsons like Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt, who were continuing on the traditions of, men who are just tremendous athletes in the ring. It really tells something about this sort of individual that he was and the legacy that he leaves, not only as a performer, as a family man, as an individual. It's really something else, and really just hate to see a life like his cut short. He was only 73 years old. 73 would have been a pretty long life at one point in my life, but I'm about halfway there myself in terms of my age. I'll be 36 this year, so got to keep that in mind when you start going forward and looking on down the road there. But it's an unfortunate thing. We do send out our best wishes to Blackjack's family and friends, and definitely are thinking of them at this point in time as they move forward. But the rest of us, of course, are moving forward with our lives too, and that means going to see some wrestling this weekend, hopefully. We've got 10 shows that we're aware of this weekend, so we're going to go ahead and roll the posters for those events, and then we'll be back in a moment to finish up the show. There you have it, our rundown of the events that are happening in your part of the world this weekend. If you're a wrestler, a promoter, or in some way involved with a wrestling promotion, and you didn't see your poster in that part of the show, it's because we didn't know about it. We do our best to peruse social media and keep ourselves abreast of what's happening in this part of the world, but we do miss things. That said, if you go ahead and send us a line via YouTube, Facebook page, Twitter, email, however you'd like, we'd be glad to put your poster out there and make people aware as best we can of what you've got going on. It's a big part of what we do here on Rasslin with Redbeard, is promoting the talent and promotions in this part of the world. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you enjoy the program, go ahead and click that like button. And if you really enjoy what we've got going on the channel here, go ahead and click subscribe. That way you'll be the first to know whenever we've uploaded something new, like a midweek update, match videos, or the Rasslin with Redbeard main show. We just uploaded one of those about a week and a half ago from our most recent AML wrestling adventure, and we'll be hopefully uploading another one here in the next couple of days from our NXT adventure here of the weekend as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again. We'll see you down the road.